Welcome to CMPAC Spotlight, where we spotlight our members and our guests and our producers on Access 21. I am your host, Keith Roberson, and I'd just like to introduce myself to you guys. I am an entrepreneur. I'm an audiovisual professional of over 18 years. I'm also a studio coordinator here at Access 21. I'm a doting father of one, and I'm your new host for CMPAC Spotlight. But enough about me. We're here to spotlight our guests. We're here to spotlight our producers and all the people that help this place run. I like to introduce to you a man who has had a show here for 16 years. He's from Charleston, South Carolina. He's been through many ups and downs in life, and he's here, and he also has a show here on Access 21 called The Paul Brown Show, or Paul Brown Show, and we're going to talk to him about that as well. And so without further ado, I like to introduce to some and present to others Paul Brown. So here's a question that I like to ask Paul, because everybody has different answers, because sometimes you may have grown up somewhere, but you may say that you're from some other place because you feel like you've had more life experiences. So I said that you're from Charleston, South Carolina. Where would you say that you're from?
Originally, I am from Charleston, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was born, raised, went to college in Columbia, went to the military, went back to Columbia, went to Charleston, and then I came to Charlotte to go to a drug treatment program.
Okay.
Back in 1998, and that's where I'm at now.
So you've been here ever since?
Yes, sir.
Ever since 1998. Awesome. So here's something that's been, I'll be honest with you, I'll put you behind the scenes real quick. Some thing of note that we've been talking about in the studio. Why Paul Brown Show and not The Paul Brown Show?
Well, really, I started off as The Second Chance. That was the name of the show when I first started off, because I was given an opportunity to get a second chance at life. And so I wanted to bring back people who were given second chance at life. So that's why I bring different people who were going through those same situations that I was going through, and they just needed people to hear about their stories.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the reasons why I went into starting a show.
So take us back to the beginning of all of it. Did you air as Second Chance?
Second
and
Chance.
then it matriculated into Paul Brown Show?
Yes, well, my director, Sonia Roberts, she's the best director I know they had at Access 21.
Okay.
And she, I love her dearly. And she thought that we needed to become more diverse. So we need to move from Second Chance to the Paul Brown Show.
Okay.
That way I can interview not only people who are in addiction or going through certain things in life, I can interview like politicians, nonprofit. It's a more diverse type show,
Right.
And that's what we did.
You didn't want to pigeonhole yourself because there was a lot more to talk about. There was a lot more that was pressing on your heart that you wanted to get to.
Well, that was her idea.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that was all her.
I was good with Second Chance, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we just stuck with that Paul Brown Show, and we just rolled with it.
You still work with Sonia?
No, she's not here anymore.
Okay.
No.
Okay. How were things in the beginning of it all? Like what were some things that were concerning to you? What were some things that, some hurdles that you had to get over in order to get to where you are today as far as the show is concerned? Because you've been doing it for 16 years now.
I think the biggest thing the issues that I had is like the guests.
Okay.
Making sure your guest shows up, because a lot of times you'll have cancellations, and then you have to figure out exactly what to do next. So sometimes you need to schedule more than one guest. Have like 2-3 guests.
Okay.
So that one don't show up. At least you will be able to tape at least 2 shows
Right.
out of that situation.
Okay.
And then we have some volunteers You know, there's a lot of people who are willing to volunteer for your, well, they want you to volunteer for their show,
Yeah.
but they don't want to volunteer for your show.
Right.
So, you know, there are a lot of confusion with that because people just didn't want to help you out because you didn't want to help them out.
Yeah.
So that was some of the issues that was going on within the studio during that time.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, you just find a group like 5 people that you work on their show, they work on your show.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so there wasn't no problem.
Right. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And
So speaking of guests, we talked about this a little bit backstage, but how do you go about getting guests on your show? What advice would you give to a budding producer that is at a loss for guests but wants to, you know, be like you in 16 years and have many guests and prestigious guests on their show? How would they go about that?
well, the first thing I had to do is I had to pray on it. And once I pray on it, then what I do is you have to be persistent. What may work for me may not work for you. So how bad do you want that guest is how much you're going to put in that effort to get them. Is it going to be easy? It's according to who that individual is. It's according to how hard it's going to be to get them on your show. You know, so you just have to be persistent and have to do how bad you want that individual on your show.
Where did you garner this wherewithal and the spirit of go-get-itness to like not take no for an answer? Like, where did that come from? Was that always in you? Did you learn that in the military? Like, how did you stumble upon this?
Well, I learned that, you know, growing up in the military, while I was in addiction, going to get that, you know, that crack cocaine, you know, if you want it, you got to go and get it. And that's the type of mentality I had to have. And I had to use that same type of mentality with getting that drug, with getting that gas. And that was one of the best things,
Right.
you know, because I had guests that I was just amazed just having them on my show. You know, it was like,
Right.
you know, and I'm not a talker. I'm an individual who I just give the question and just let them talk.
Okay.
So this is very new to me
Yeah.
because
Well,
you
we
know, I'm used to
appreciate
being on that side of
we
the table.
appreciate
You know, I'm
we
used to being on that
appreciate
side. So, you know, so, basically all I do is I just give them a question and let them talk the whole show. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed about the show because I was learning about them, how they affect our community,
Yeah.
the impact they do. And when you have people like the mayor on your show and
Right.
chief of police and the list goes on, you know, you like just getting them to your show is that's just a blessing.
Yeah. What's the hardest? So speaking of which, what's the hardest or one of the hardest guests that you've had on your show? Like the hardest to get? Like what guest was the hardest to get on your show?
Well, I can't really answer that question because, you know what I'm saying, it was sometimes the guest that not that well known might be your hardest guest because they might be afraid of that camera. They might be afraid of just telling people about their program.
Yeah. But so why go so hard to get that guest, the not so well known guest? Why would you try hard or put in that extra effort to get them on the show? You feel like they have something valuable
they
to say?
they had a program that I felt the community needed to hear about. You know, a lot of them, they didn't have the financial status to get this means of getting their program out to the community. This was just Access 21 was a vital asset for them to be able to get that information out to the community. You know, and I want to give thanks to Mr. Rocco, you know, Brand, you know, James,
Yeah.
the rest of the staff that really help in making this a successful program.
Right. 16 years is no small feat
No, sir.
in doing anything. And, you know, we talked about, you know, just getting at it and getting after it. But can you speak to the longevity? How does one get to 16 years? If someone out there is, looking to do a show or already is doing a show on Access 21 or anywhere else, how do you stick to doing something like this for 16 plus years?
You got to love what you're doing. You got to love the people that you're going out there to get to be on your show. You got to understand that what your show is different than that next individual. So, I can't sit there and watch another show and expect my show to look like their show. I got to make sure my show is the Paul Brown show.
Right.
So I got to make sure how bad I want my show to stand out above the rest. So you got to put that effort in. The more effort you put in, the better your show comes out.
When you started formulating how you were going to do your show, you and your producer,
Director,
excuse me, what were some of the, because you're the producer, what were some of the blueprints or some of the people that you looked at, or some of the hosts or some of the shows that you might have even looked at to say, we kind of want to do a show like this? Was it any of that, or was it just like there was no blueprint whatsoever?
No, sir. That's what I'm saying. The name of my show was Second Chance. I was just going to bring people who had a voice about how they got a second chance at life. And that was my main objective of having my show. So it wasn't I looked at other people's show or anything like that. No, this is my life.
Okay.
This is what I was going through. And I figured that I can be more productive in telling people about that situation than probably anything else at the time.
Yeah. Do you ever go back and watch some of your shows?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah. What goes through your mind when you're watching them? Like, because as a creative, as a fellow creative, like I'm always like going back or not going back and looking or listening at certain things. So like, what goes through your mind as the person who created the show? Do you critique it? Do you just look at it and say, this is good? Like what all goes through your head?
Well, it's hard to really critique my show, I'm just at awe at some of the guests that I have on the show and just try to give thanks to God for giving me the opportunity to have them on my show, because they could have said no.
Yeah.
And, so he blessed me with that opportunity. So that's what I'm really thankful of.
What's some of the feedback? Do you get a lot of feedback from people? Do people recognize you in the streets and say, I saw you, or you look familiar, or anything like that?
I used to get a lot of that from people, especially when I used to have the guests on, those big name guests on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it was just, but I was just normal.
Yeah.
Because Access 21 is not as widely watched as some of the bigger programs, but, the more you put shows on, the more the people that watch your show, they see you, and they see you in that community.
Okay.
Because they want to be on your show as well.
Yeah.
I got a program as well that you can bring me on your show.
Now that's funny that you say that, because I found you on YouTube, outside of this, but I was looking for you on demand. So Access 21 has, and this is a plug to everybody out there. Access 21 has an app, it has a website, it has a YouTube, and all of that type of stuff. But and you can put your stuff on demand. Personal question: why aren't you on demand? What's the choice?
Well,
behind
back
that?
when they first started demand, my director told me not to go that route. She had a reason why, and I just said no. I mean, I'm not going. She said not to go that route, so I didn't, because we were like teammates.
Yeah.
My job was to be behind that desk and interview those guests, but she dealt with the other things dealing with the show.
Yeah.
So when she said something like, she had to have a reason why. So cool.
I get it.
You know,
It's
so
like we're a team.
Yeah, I'm not going to
This is my role.
Correct.
Your role is to do that,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to muddy the waters by dipping and dabbling
Yeah.
into. But today, with there not being the producer, and we could cut this out if you don't want it in there. Are you opposed to doing on demand now?
I'm not opposed, but you know, I haven't been on demand for quite a long time, so you know,
There's a market for it. I was looking for it.
You know, I'm used to doing things a certain way, you know, so
Okay.
I don't like changes. So
Okay.
if I'm used to not doing it like that, then that's just the way I am.
All it is just like more.
I understand.
Okay.
That.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I understand.
Cool. I like it. You know, you stick to what you know. You stick to the rivers and the lakes that you used to. Yeah.
Correct. You know.
Okay. Of course, your show. What would you say to anyone out there that wants to start a show at Access 21?
Well, first you got to pray on it, and then you got to what you want. What kind of show that you feel would interest you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't look at Access 21, look at all the different shows and say, I want a show just like that person's show, but I think I can do it better, because you don't know what it takes for that person to actually make that show. There's a lot of work that comes into that.
Yeah.
So you may not be, you know, into putting in that effort that that person is putting in it.
Right.
So you got to do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
You got to pick your show. You know, and we lose a lot of people at Access 21 because they try to
talk about it.
They try to follow other people's show format. Mm-hmm. And then they find out that's not going to work for them.
Right.
And then they just disappear into the sunshine. Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
I don't like this.
Right.
You know.
So the show is called Paul Brown Show. Do you feel like people get a better understanding of who you are when they watch the show? Or, you know, the things that you love or anything like that? But you would probably, I'm going to answer for you, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you would probably say that even though the show is named after you, in essence, it's not about you.
It's not. That's true.
Okay. So.
That's a good answer.
Yeah,
I like that. I like it.
Yeah, so what do you want people to get? I mean, of course, information, because you were, again, you won an award in 2011 for being the most informative show. Mm-hmm. So by and large, what do you want people to get from your show? If you had to give an elevator pitch, if you had 30 seconds to say what your show is about, what would you say?
The Paul Brown Show is giving information about programs, services, people that's in our community that's beneficial to you. It may not be something that you may need, but someone in your family member may need, and you watch and you let them know. Because there's a lot of programs out there that a lot of people just don't know about that exists in our community. There's a lot of programs.
So we have a clip of your show. What is it that we're getting ready to see?
It's just one of my roll-ins that I have of introducing some of my guests, me interviewing them, and just some of the things that people can expect being on my show, the people they can see. That's just a few of the many people that has come on this show and has provided that information that they need. Whether it's the big people, there's no little people, it's just people. You know, so it's very informative. Get busy. Yeah.
So I know that the show isn't necessarily about you, but if someone were to ask you something about you, like what would you want people to know before you leave this earth, whenever God forbid, but what are some things that you just absolutely want people to know about you?
That I really care about people, and I'm a giver and not a taker. I want people to understand that life is short and you should reach for the stars. You go through your ups and your downs, and no matter what downs you go through, get back up. Get back on your feet and try again. We all made mistakes. Everybody has. Nobody's perfect out here. So, just brush yourself off, get back up, and go and get it. Go and get it. Do it for your family, do it for your friends, but most of all, do it for yourself.
Do you feel like, I'm getting the sense that, you stated it in so many words, but do you feel as though some of the tribulations and some of the, as you would say, mistakes that you've made contribute to the drive that you currently have in regards to your show?
Well, being a recovering addict, you had to have a drive to try to get your life back together. So, it's just a blessing just to be back to where I'm thinking right.
Yeah.
It's not thinking drugs. I can live a normal life again, because that life of addiction it's a nightmare. Nobody wants to live it.
Yeah.
But it's hard getting out of it. But once you get out of it, you got to take that thing one day at a time. Even though I've been clean since August 25th, 1997,
wow,
every day it's a process for me.
Absolutely.
Because I got to always remember that I'm one bad thought from going back to that lifestyle. So I'm not, I can take just one. Because that one had put me right back where I started from.
Right.
And I got to always remember that every day.
Wow.
So I can't take that for granted, that chance I was given to get my life together, that it only takes one bad thought to get me right back where I was at.
Wow.
And that's a simple thing. And that goes for anything with life. You make a decision, you go out there and rob that bank, there's a repercussions to your action.
Right.
So just because you think you're going out there and rob that bank, you can get killed, you go into prison or whatever. So there's repercussions to your action.
Absolutely. Definitely thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
And talking to us today about you and your show and your recovery and all of that. And I want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you, sir.
As well. I know that it's an ongoing thing. It doesn't stop. And so more power to you for sure.
Yes, sir.
One last thing before we go. Can you tell us when your show airs? We done all the talking about it. When does it air? When can we catch it? When can we tune in?
The Paul Brown shows airs every Thursday at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Access 21.
There you have it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you, Mr. Brown, for being with us here today. I've been your host, Keith Roberson, and this has been CMPAC Spotlight. Bailey, Daddy loves you.